Sunday, July 17th, as they recalculated how much time she had served when they factored in good behavior.
So our legal analyst, Golde, is here to talk about this. We haven't talked to you since the verdict came in, and they didn't find her guilty of the murder, but they found her guilty of 4 counts of lying to investigators.
Yes, a very, very small charge, one that carries very little jail time. And Casey Anthony will be released in a case where a lot of people, including many people in the media, thought that she was guilty of murder and would serve a life sentence, and everyone is shocked that she's going to be released, that she was completely acquitted. Not a hung jury, but acquitted completely.
Yeah, and people in Florida have been, continuing their demonstrations about it, and who knows what's going to happen next Sunday when she gets out, too.
And, this case played out more in the media than it actually did in the courtroom. Talk about that.
Yes, the thing is, we're not in the courtroom. All we do is hear what the legal commentators say, hear what these shows, these tabloid kind of shows talk about.
And they're not in there either, Ivan. How do they know what they're talking about?
Most of them are not in there. However, these shows get ratings, and people watch these shows, and they form their opinion without being in the courtroom, without really listening to the evidence, and as a result, there's public outrage when, in fact, they don't really know what they're so upset about because they weren't there to really witness the event. Our due process is a very slow, tedious process, and those jurors sat there every day. This case went on for 3 years, but I'll tell you something, Daria and Mark. I think the fact that Casey Anthony is a very attractive young woman, I think personally that really played into her acquittal. She had a look. I think the jurors may have connected with her. They may have liked her. They may have felt sorry for her. They wanted to give her a break. They wanted to acquit her, and they did just that. And that may not be fair, but it's not a perfect system. And though we think the evidence was there, the fact is those jurors made the call. They just didn't have enough to nail her of murder. They just didn't have that real causal link, that piece of evidence where you could say beyond a reasonable doubt, she's guilty. They really didn't have it. They had a little of this, a little of that, a little of this, a little of that, but not quite enough, especially if you like the defendant, if you feel sorry for her.
I was actually shocked at what you said about the 90% of the cases they decide right after they hear the opening
statement, and it's a gut thing. You feel it in your gut. You can analyze the evidence, look at the evidence, make a decision, but in your gut, what do you think? What do you feel? Do you want to give this person a break?
That's sort of not the way it's supposed to be.
No, but we're human beings. We're not robots on that jury. We're not professional jurors, and we're humans. And if you hate the defendant, which is what the prosecutors really try to do, they try to make you despise the defendant so you find that defendant guilty. But if the jurors like the defendant, they will give that defendant a break, and that's what I tell you happened in this case.
What about going after her for the costs of a false investigation? They're going after her for monetary
yes, and they can get that. Yes. I don't know if you recall that case about the gentleman who flew in a helium balloon and all that.
Balloon man.
And they found that he had to pay for the cost. So if you make up some prank or if you do something that really puts the police out, yes, you are civilly liable for those costs. They can get her on that. But I'll tell you this, who's going to get that first interview with Casey Anthony? She's going to make nothing but money out of this. She's going to write a book. She's going to get a big-time interview. She may even get a clothing line, for God's sake. This is a woman, actually, who has a lot of, marketing potential. You've not heard the last of Casey Anthony.
To say. I know, but it's
that
true.
Is our society. We love these kind of high-profile cases. We're enamored with them. The ratings were there. This case was shown on television on a daily basis. That should tell you a lot right there.
Yeah.
All right, Ivan. Thanks for joining us again.
All right, 9:51 is the time right now. Back with more in a couple of minutes.